Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Carrie, and we're currently sitting in my '04 Mustang GT, and I decided let's try something different. We're gonna do like a car talk series and see if you guys like that. We're just gonna talk about some of our experiences with our cars, who's influenced us with the cars. So today I'm gonna be talking about who actually started me in the cars and why I love them so much. So for me, it was my dad. I live on a farm, so we have tractors, we had a few farm pieces of equipment, and so my dad had two girls, my sister and me. My sister stayed in the house with my mom. I went outside with my dad, learned how to run pretty much everything that we owned. And it was just simple stuff like doing oil changes and minor repairs, usually nothing too big. And I was just intrigued by it. And then me and my dad would always watch car shows. And I watched my dad and his brothers build a 66 Impala. My uncle likes body work and he built classic cars. And so I watched them build that and do that. And it really intrigued me. And as we got older, we started doing more stuff together. The one that I really had the most experience with is one you guys have probably seen on the channel if you've been around long enough. It's a '86 Toyota pickup. So I've always wanted a Mustang, always wanted one, but my dad despised sports cars. I think it was because my dad was really too big to fit in them, because so my dad was born in the 60s, so later, some of the sports cars were really too small for him. My dad's big like Devin. He was 6'4" and about 300 pounds. So being that tall, once he had the money to buy a sports car, being like a 90s, 80s Fox body to a 90s Mustang to early 2000s, they're really too small. Like Devin doesn't fit in a Fox body. So, he just stuck with trucks. He liked Ford trucks. That's what my dad always did. Up until we were growing up, my uncle worked at a Chevrolet dealership, so my dad switched over to Chevrolet because it was what he could afford, what he could get good deals on, and what he could pay somebody to work on if he didn't know how to. So, the first Ford we ever got was a 79 F-150. It had a 4-in-the-floor with granny gear, full-wheel drive, highboy, which means it's lifted from the factory, had the Windsor, and man, that thing, I loved that truck. I was 14 when we got it, and 15 and a half when we got rid of it. My dad got rid of it because he was like, I did not want you driving that on the road, because at the time, gas was like $4.50 a gallon. It was ridiculous. So he was like, yeah, and I don't want you to roll it, so nope. He's like, I know you. Nope. Got rid of it. Didn't have any manual vehicles up until right before I turned 18. My dad had been looking for another old Ford truck. We went and looked at one, and it was like a 60s Ford truck, but he put a bench seat out of a 99 F-250. So it made it sit higher up, and so when my dad got in, it hit his head. He's like, nope, I'm not paying for something that I'm going to have to work on if they want this much. So on the way out there, coming back, we had saw this Toyota pickup sitting on the side of the road. So we decided to stop and look at it. And the guy's wife came in. He's like, he'll be here in a little while. He's just now getting off work. And my dad was like, all right, well, I'm going to look at it. And the guy was like, it'll start up, but it won't run very long because the gas line's busted. And so him and my dad worked out a deal. Dad sat under it for like 25 minutes and got it to run and drove it home. This truck had been rolled. Man, it was bad. I'll put some pictures in at the end of it if I can find some. It was bad. We did a lot of work. We put a new clutch in it, new flywheel, new transmission, starter, new body panels. We did like passenger fender, grill, front bumper, driver's door. I think it was the driver's door. Yeah, driver's door. We did some work on the bed. When we had got it, the bed was full of trash. But the only spot you could see was a rust hole, and my dad thought the whole thing was shot. Emptied out the bed. It was fine, minus that one spot. guy apparently had a roll bar on it, and when it flipped, it pulled that spot out. So it had come a long way, and spending that time with my dad and having those positive memories really got me into cars. Anybody that knew me, I could talk about that truck all day long. I couldn't tell you as much as I could tell you now, but all I knew was I loved that truck, and I loved what I drove, and I loved tinkering with it and trying to figure new things out. Like, I'm not like Devin. I can't just throw a supercharger on, but I can do the basic maintenance and the basic things. I can do a tire rotation myself. I can change the oil. My favorite vehicle to change the oil on is that little Toyota, and then our F-250. Our F-250 being a diesel, the filter's right on top. Easy little foop foop. And it's high enough that I can slide a 5-gallon bucket right under it and drop it all. It's great. Favorite vehicle change oil on. Granted, we only have to do it every 10,000 miles, but favorite vehicle. I don't like having to lift shit up. But, so a lot of people ask me, well, if you always had trucks, where did the Mustangs come in? Well, I always wanted a Mustang. My mom knew it. I always wanted a sports car. My dad would never get me one because he just didn't like them. She begged him to go get me an old Mustang instead of this truck, and he wouldn't do it. So I settled on my 86 Toyota pickup. And Devin comes along. Me and Devin been together for a while. It's 2017. Devin was looking for a new car, and we found this yellow Mustang, and he fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. We brought it home, and it really sparked Mustangs in me. And so 2020 comes around, I buy my first personal Mustang, which is this 2004. I wanted a Shelby, and I couldn't find a Shelby, and I was getting impatient, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy this 2004. And then I ended up finding my 2014 GT350. So everything, the spark of it started with my dad, but everything that I know now is because of Devin. And Devin's the one who pushed me to go work for an auto parts store and pushed me to do these. Devin's actually the one who pushed me to start making videos for you guys. Because I was like, no, they're going to make fun of me if I don't know something, or I say something wrong, or if they take it the wrong way, maybe I don't use the right terminology. He's like, no, he said, just do it. And it's really helped my confidence when it comes to cars. So, thank you, Dad. Thank you, Devin. Y'all both mean the world to me. And I don't know. I know what I'd do without Dad, because Dad's not here anymore, but I don't know what I'd do without Devin. I'd be lost without Devin. But anyways, you guys, that's it for today. Let me know how you like these, if you want to hear more, if you want to know a certain thing, like what my first vehicle was, or something, like what kind of stories you want to hear, what you want to know about us. Anyways, you guys, y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you later.